You know what this is for? Me neither.
But there's a Kirby on the back, and I'm worried my kid did it.
Why is there a Kirby on the back?
It probably was. That looks like the handwriting of Alistair Redshaw.
Your children are monsters.
I know, and I'm so sorry. Welcome to the Other Talking Red podcast. My name is Jen.
Hey everybody, I'm Ryan. So Jen, what do you want to talk about today?
I want to talk about something fun.
Piracy on the high seas.
No, but that would be a lot of fun.
That'd be a good time. What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about tithe.
Yay!
But seriously, I love the subject of tithe. And
Okay.
as someone who is a volunteer youth pastor who does not get a paycheck from the church, I wanted to talk about this. I don't get any benefit from talking about it, but it's an important conversation to have that churches have about twice a year.
Yeah, pastors, gold standards to try and talk about giving with your people twice a year. And as a pastor who is paid and is on staff, it always does feel like a challenge to present tithe in a biblically sound, accurate way that also clarifies that I don't have an ulterior motive.
Yep.
Like when I used to be a waiter, other waiters that and guys who worked in the kitchen, they used to think that my income was based on how much tithe came in. So if I was going to be a little short on rent this month, I should just send the plates around again and tell people they needed to give more. And I was like, guys, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Like my salary is set at the beginning of the year, and then the money we raise goes towards supporting everything the church does, which does include paid staff, but also our facilities, missions overseas, our educational institutions, supporting the poor in our local community, supporting our local community just in general outreachy ways. There's a lot that we do with it.
Yeah, so tithe is really important, not only for what it benefits for the church, but what it benefits for the community and the person who is giving.
Yeah.
But before we get into all that, let's talk about why we tithe. First, what is tithe?
Yeah, define it first. Tithe
Yeah.
is a churchy word.
Tithe is a churchy word. Tithe means to give your first fruits, that first harvest. And it has grown today to mean our first paycheck or money when it comes in, because we aren't all farmers. We're not going out there. But when you were a farmer back in those days and you've gone all winter and you're on the last grains in your storage, that first harvest you really want to keep for yourself.
Yeah.
It's fresh, it's new, and it's a huge thing to give that back to God, the person who's going to provide for you year in and year out. So that was a huge thing to do, is to give that first one when you would rather not.
Yeah, so tithe is all about giving to the church, or back in the days of the ancient Jewish temple, to the temple to support God's mission on earth. Tithe is meant to be your first part of your harvest, the best of what you get, and coming out of a period of
Famine, breakfast.
Well, I'm not famine, but
Yeah.
fasting, relying on your storage, relying on last year's
Yep.
grain. This year's grain pops up. It would be really tempting to hoard it to yourself and say, oh, I'll get God later. It shows a lot of trust to give it back. Because most of us aren't farmers now, that has come to mean giving 1/10. When we say give your first paycheck, we don't mean the whole paycheck.
No.
Unless you're one of those weird people, it's like, okay, I get 12 months a year, so I'm going to give all my tithe in January, which how do you make your rent? I don't know how you do that, but to each their own. It's to give 1/10 of your income to support God's mission in the local church.
Yeah. So I wanted to go over how we got to this point, because going from farmers back then bringing things to the temple to what we have now does look a little different.
It's pretty different. Yeah.
It's pretty different. So where we get the first tithe from wasn't actually a 10% we demand a tithe from you. It was actually a thankful offering from Abraham.
Yeah, it wasn't a prescription, it was a gift.
Yeah, exactly. And so when Abraham goes and he tries to go and save his nephew Lot from people that were sacking Sodom in some of the neighboring countryside.
She said it right, you guys. She said
Sodom.
Sodom right. We're so proud of her. Yay!
Andy.
Throw back to a previous episode. Go check it out.
Where Abraham barters for Sodom.
Sodom.
What did I just say?
Saddam, as in Hussein.
Saddam. 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 I can't remember. There's probably a short in there where you can just click on it and see me over and over again.
It was pretty funny.
It was.
One of the things that doesn't translate on film, by the way, it looks like we just, like we're on laughing gas or something. That was the highlight reel. Like, we were sitting here for a while trying to get her to say Sodom, and that's why it was so funny to us.
Yes.
Because it took a lot of takes.
Yes, it did. And obviously, I have practiced since then. So back to King Sodom.
The king of Sodom.
King of Sodom. His name was not Sodom.
No, that would be weird. Sodom of Sodom.
There's been weirder kings.
There's been weirder kings. Yeah.
All right, so Abraham is rescuing his nephew. He goes out with his horde of people that are under his tutelage.
Militia, please.
It's his militia. And he does a great
His
job.
horde.
It's his horde. And he goes out, he saves them, he gets everything back. And as he's coming back, he comes across King Melchizedek.
There it is! Melchizedek.
Melchizedek. And he happens to be a strange king. Why is he a kind of a strange king, Ryan?
Yeah, so this is a unique situation where he is the king of Salem. He's also the priest of Salem, which is kind of odd to be the king and the priest. Usually, like in ancient Israel, it was a separation of powers to maintain checks and balances. The same way that we had the executive branch, the legislative branch, and then the Supreme Court, right? The judicial branch. They balance each other out. The king and the priest are supposed to balance each other out. In Salem, he had both hats.
Yeah.
So the people of Sodom go to war with these foreign kings. These foreign kings abduct Lot. Abraham goes and fights the foreign kings, saves Lot. There's this big pile of loot that has been accumulated because of the sacking.
Yeah.
And the king of Sodom comes out. The king of Salem comes out. They're meeting with Abraham. Abraham says, I'm not going to take any of this loot for myself. Just give my men enough food to eat because they worked hard today.
Yeah.
I'm going to take back what was stolen from us, but I'm not even going to take a strap of a sandal from the king of Sodom because I don't want you to say that you made me wealthy when God has been the one taking care of me. And because I'm so thankful that God has been taking care of me, this king of Salem, who is also a priest and apparently worships the same God Abraham does, which is kind of rare.
It is.
They're on the same page. They're simpatico.
Yeah.
So Abraham decides,
I'm going to give 10% of what I have, my own wealth, things that I have accumulated, to this king. And the king gives him a blessing at the same time. So he was thankful that everything went okay. He was thankful for God's provision. And this is where we get the first 10%. Now, we don't stick with 10% forever. That is just one example. Later on, as we get into Moses' story, and they're starting their new society because they've come out of Egypt, they're making something new. Moses has a Levitical law that he has to write out for the people. And part of this is setting up the Levites. Now, the Levites are one of the 12 from the family
12 what?
12 children of Israel.
There you go.
There we go. From the house of Levi, they're his descendants. And they have been set apart to be the priesthood. They are to take care of the sacrifices. They're the ones to pay atonement towards God for the Israelites. They're supposed to teach. They're supposed to keep the tabernacle. And all of this is a lot for the Levites to do. So because they're so preoccupied with this, they don't have their own homes. They don't have their own land. I want to say land. They had homes, but they didn't have land, like the other 11 tribes. But they were to keep everybody as holy as possible. That was their job. So to keep them going, to give them what they needed to survive, they had to give a tithe to the Levites.
Right.
And this was some of the sacrifices they brought in, the grains they brought in, things that they had throughout the year.
The Jewish people were an agrarian society, so they were farmers and ranchers or shepherds, and everybody else had land to make their living on. The Levites didn't because God was supposed to be their portion, and they're serving as priests, so the people would come, give a portion from their households in order to make sure that the priests had something to eat. And when we look at tithe specifically, the Levitical code did call for a tithe, a 10% of your income to go to support the Levites. And that's a big part of where the tradition comes from. The tradition did start with Abraham. That's where Abraham did that. God used it as a foreshadowing that then comes to fruition in the Levitical code.
Yeah.
And that's not the only giving that the Jews actually did. Common misnomer. There were also taxes that were established for the society and special offerings. They were giving more than 10%, but for the sake of argument, their tithe was 10% of their first fruits was to be brought to God and offered as a sacrifice.
Yeah. So once the Israelites settle in the Promised Land and we get to King David and Solomon, they no longer keep a tabernacle. They now had to keep a temple.
What's a tabernacle?
Tabernacle is a transportation, a tent just for God's presence. It's small. You can pack it up. You can carry it along with you. But when they made camp, it would be in the center of the camp. All of the Israelites would be around it because that's where your central focus was supposed to be, and God's presence would be in there.
Yep.
That's where the sacrifices would go. That's where you would go to get a blessing, and that would be also where you go for cleansing.
It's a tent temple.
It
Or a
is.
temple tent.
Yes.
A mobile religious shrine.
Yes,
Yeah.
but now we're doing the temple, which is supposed to be permanent.
Permanent, yep.
So Solomon decides to institute a tax. He also enslaves the Israelites.
Essentially, yeah.
And
Becomes a new pharaoh.
it becomes a new pharaoh. And it didn't just start with the temple, which the temple was only, 1,400 square feet?
I mean, we say only.
Yeah.
They didn't have power saws or nail guns or anything like that or earth movers. When you were doing a big project,
Yeah.
it took a long time, especially
Yeah.
because when you think, one of the things we don't think about,
Yeah.
we live in Oregon. Jen, how far do you have to go to chop down a tree in Oregon?
Oh, 15 feet.
If that.
Yes.
In Judea, it's a desert. So when they're building all this stuff,
Yeah.
they have to ship timber in from out of country. They have to bring the rocks in from there's a lot that goes into it. It's a very expensive thing. We look at it, we compare it to a modern day football stadium, and a football stadium's bigger and took us far less time to build. And frankly, the football stadium is probably more impressive in some ways.
Yeah.
But just architecturally speaking, artisanally speaking, the temple would be incredible because of all the overlaid gold, the hand carving, all that. But yeah, it took a lot of money and labor and time to build the temple,
Yeah.
and tithe helped contribute to that.
Yes. But Solomon didn't just stop with the temple.
No, he's kind of an early example of tithe being abused a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes on to build a big old palace for himself. Even though his dad had already built a palace he could live in,
Yeah.
he had to have his own. His princess from Egypt had to have her own palace. He built shrines to the foreign gods of his foreign wives. He did a bunch of construction projects that cost a lot of money.
Yes.
And a lot of time, and it wasn't good.
Yeah, and it became taxing on the people so that once his son was raised up and he wanted to lay down the law.
It took one speech.
It took
Worst
one speech.
ever. Led to a
Yes.
civil war. First time he addresses the people. Let's kill him.
Yes.
That really got out of hand quickly.
Yeah, because the people had had enough. They'd
Yeah.
been taxed into oblivion.
Yeah.
So we get to this point where we already have this income coming in to keep the temple, to upkeep the people who are keeping the temple.
And it's legal code now. It's required by the government.
Yes.
Everybody pays it.
Exactly. Now we get to Jesus.
Right.
And his temple is, of course, not uniformed, centralized just in the temple in Jerusalem. His is supposed to go out to the people.
He's saying God's presence is supposed to go out to the people. It's not just in the temple in Jerusalem, right?
Exactly. It's supposed to go out to the people. It's what the design was. And when he lands on the field, when he is among the people, this is where it really starts to show up. Because
Right.
he's showing the difference of how it should be, and then he's showing where it should have been.
He's showing where the intention should have been and how abuses in the temple had begun.
Yeah.
And there's actually a good example of this. If you go into Matthew chapter 23, this is Jesus' famous passage where he pronounces 7 woes on the Pharisees, who were the religious elite of his day. And when he gets to talk about tithe, so Jesus did preach on tithe. He did preach on giving quite a bit. He
Yep.
preached on money quite a bit because it's a massive stumbling block
Yep.
for people. Side note, another common misnomer that needs to be corrected. Pastors who keep on saying Jesus preached about money more than he preached about anything else, not true. He actually preached about the kingdom more than anything else. Money was a common stumbling block, so he preached about it a lot. But the Pharisees, they got obsessed with the 10%. And so they didn't want to just give 9.9999999 repeating percent. They had to give 10 on the nose. So Jesus here is going to condemn them for tithing their mint, dill, and cumin, which would be very low value spices. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You give a tenth of your spices, mint, dill, and cumin, but you have neglected the more important matters of the law. Speaking about that Levitical code that Jen was just talking about. Justice, mercy, and faithfulness. You should have practiced the latter without neglecting the former. You blind guides, you strain out a gnat but swallow a camel. The point here is, the pastors who say Jesus didn't care about tithe, you're wrong. He did say that you shouldn't have neglected the former.
Yeah.
It's just that you should be doing both.
Yeah.
When Jesus commends someone for their giving, he's always commending generosity. I think of the example of the widow in the temple who had only 2 copper coins to live on. She gave it all and trusted it to God. I think about the rich young ruler who came to Jesus and said, what do I have to do to inherit eternal life? Well, your wealth has become an idol to you, so I want you to sell everything, give it to the poor. He goes away sad, breaks Jesus' heart.
Yeah.
But I think he knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
You look at examples, and when Jesus points to someone who is giving, he doesn't focus on the 10% aspect. He focuses on generosity, and he calls us all to give generously.
Yes.
So I would say, within the context of this conversation, Jesus is very supportive of tithe as giving to people in need, as giving to the church, our case, which is the temple everywhere, in order to support the ministry, the spreading of the kingdom that God was calling us to support. He always calls for generosity. Jesus does not call for us to be stingy, begrudging givers, or finding out what the bare minimum is that we can give. But he's also not legalistically obsessed with the 10%.
Yes.
So that's a development that we see coming after the temple, where the 10% was the whole thing.
So this means for us that there is a standard that we are supposed to give.
It does.
But it doesn't have to be legalistic.
Yeah, we've gotten really weird, right?
Yeah.
So we've gotten really weird, especially in the church in America, where because Jesus comes along and he says you need to follow the intent of the law, not the letter of the law. So it's not that you shouldn't murder. You shouldn't murder, but you shouldn't even be furious with your brother to the point of being grieved in your soul. It's not that you shouldn't commit adultery. You shouldn't commit adultery. But don't even lust after people that aren't your spouse. It's not, and he keeps on intensifying the law. This weird thing happens where when Jesus says, Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath, and he's pushing back on religious codes regarding the Sabbath, some Christians have come along and said, oh, cool, we don't need to celebrate the Sabbath, so I just don't need to do any of that. Jesus comes along and criticizes the Pharisees for being legalistic about their 10%. Oh, cool, so I don't need to give to the church anymore. That's not what Jesus said.
No.
He said that your heart should be in the right place.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. It's about, are you leading where your finances go, or your finances leading where you go? Do you actually trust God to provide for your daily bread? Because isn't that what he says in the Lord's Prayer? Give us this day our daily bread. Provide what we need for today.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when it comes to tithe, this is the one thing that we're told that we can actually test God about.
Yeah.
And so we're going to read from Malachi real quick. This is Malachi chapter 3. I'm going to go through verse 6 all the way through. I, the Lord, do not change. So you, the descendants of Jacob, are not destroyed. Ever since the time of your ancestors, you have turned away from my decrees and have not kept them. Return to me, and I will return to you, says the Lord Almighty. But you ask, how are we to return? Will a mere mortal rob God? Yet you rob me. But you ask, how are we robbing you? In tithes and offerings. You are under a curse, your whole nation, because you are robbing me. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it. I will prevent pests from devouring your crops, and the vines in your fields will not drop their fruit before it is ripe, says the Lord Almighty. Then all the nations will call you blessed. For yours will be a delightful land, says the Lord.
Yeah. So apparently the Israelites were, and I think if I recall, it's been a minute since I've read Malachi, but I think if I recall, so the way the Israelites were robbing God, they were not bringing their first fruits. They weren't bringing the best.
Yeah.
They were bringing, instead of bringing a choice
calf or
or lamb or sheep, the prime rib.
Yeah.
They were like, old Ned's about to kick it. Let's just go sacrifice him. And it's like this old mangy goat that you couldn't sell on the market that nobody would want. They were bringing blemished sacrifices. They weren't bringing their best. And God's like, you're robbing me.
Yeah.
Everything under heaven is mine. It's not that I need this. It's that this is a heart issue. This is an attitude issue.
Yeah.
And what Malachi is ultimately going to be predicting is the coming of Messiah and the coming of John the Baptist and how they're going to recalibrate people's hearts.
Yep.
Test me in this. Your heart is messed up and you don't trust me. Test me.
Yeah.
I will take care of you. From an agrarian perspective, again, he's talking about how he will open up the, how did he say it specifically? I will throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing there will not be room enough to store it.
Yeah.
He's literally talking about showers for farmers.
Yeah.
Right? So they had to rely on God to bring the rain. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's going to be a rough time.
Or if you have pests that come through, like they can take out full crops in one afternoon.
It's actually kind of cool, old world meeting new world.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you this.
Yeah.
In the Middle East today, they have drones, and their job is to track locust swarms.
Yeah.
And because if the farmers see a swarm coming, they can try and take some action and protect themselves. If a locust swarm shows up today, they'll devour an entire field in an afternoon.
Yeah.
And will ruin a farmer's entire harvest, their entire year. You could wreck they wreck local economies.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something we think about here. It's like the Dust Bowl could be around the corner for Americans. You know what I mean?
Well,
like, it's crazy.
Well, we do have our own pests here. The elk herd, if they come through your farm, it's done.
Yeah, but at least you can shoot the elk.
Sometimes they're protected. If you shoot an elk and you don't do that, guys. And they're protected, you have a problem.
Never do that, guys.
Get a license. No, all right. But my point is in this, there was a lot of things that could come across their harvest and devastate them. And God was telling them, I'm going to protect you from this. I will make it tenfold.
If you trust me.
If you trust me.
But if you want to do it on your own, good luck.
Exactly.
Because then I won't protect it, and you can see how that turns out for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the next thing is there a time when we shouldn't tithe?
Yeah. So why should we tithe? We should tithe because everything is a gift from God, and by giving back, we're trusting God with that gift. I'll also say that there's plenty of scripture to back up the practice of tithing.
Yes.
Is there a time we shouldn't tithe? Pastors have different opinions on this. And I find it's hard for me to make a prescription for all people everywhere in all situations. Because I think there are some folks who are in dire circumstances that God would show mercy to. That being said, for me, there will not come a time in my life when I don't tithe. Whether I'm a pastor or not, whether I am high on the hog or I'm on the verge of bankruptcy, I will still tithe. I've been tithing since I was 4. I will not stop. Why? Because I believe that this is what God has commanded me to do. 2, I trust God with my finances. 3, I believe God's going to take care of me. And 4, I want to support the mission of a local church, God's people, to spread the kingdom. Because that's going to have an eternal impact, whereas what I do with my money is going to be temporary.
Yeah.
And I will also say that in my experience, the most generous people are the impoverished.
Yes.
That's the thing that kills you.
Yeah.
There was a I can't remember if it was a priest or I think it was an Orthodox priest was preaching a sermon, and it became viral, this clip, because he starts weeping.
Yeah.
And he felt such a heart check because a homeless man came up to him and asked him for money. It was just a couple dollars. And he did what we all do. Homeless guy comes up and asks for money. Most of us say, I don't know what he's going to use this for. I don't want to support a drug habit. And there is some wisdom to that.
Yeah.
But he's standing there and he's like, nah, man, I can't help you out. I got nothing for you. And then another homeless guy walks up and gives him money. This other homeless guy who's in just as desperate a circumstance gives him a couple bucks so he can go buy lunch or whatever.
Yeah.
And the priest said, the Holy Spirit just killed me.
That would be
Who
hard.
am I?
Yeah.
And I have another story from my family that I've told Jen before, but it was the illustration that my dad told me. The family I grew up in, dad and mom told me, son, you need to tithe, and we're going to tell you the stories from our family so you understand why.
Yeah.
And my dad grew up in poverty. My grandmother was a single mom to 4 kids, and they had a really hard time making ends meet. They had an apple tree in their backyard, and sometimes The kids didn't eat dinner if there weren't apples on the tree. That's it. It's just the way it was. And God still saw them through, but they had to rely on him for their daily bread. One Sunday, my grandmother's in church. My dad's sitting next to her. The offering plate comes by. She reaches into her purse, pulls out 2 $1 bills, drops them in the plate. My dad looks at her and says, "What are you doing?" Because he knew those were the last $2 they had. They had nothing else. And my grandmother said, "I'm trusting God," and let the plate go by. And my dad's just sitting here. He's so worried about how they're going to make it. That afternoon, there's a knock on the front door. My grandmother goes and opens it, and I think it was the telephone company or the power company. I can't remember. There was a representative on the front doorstep, and they said, "Hello, Eleanor. You have overpaid what was due for the last month, so we wanted to come and give you back what you were owed as a refund." And they gave her like $20, $30. And again, this was the 70s, so it was...
That's a lot.
Late 60s, early 70s. So that's more than it's worth today.
Yeah.
But it was it's like someone walking up, here's $500.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And my dad's just standing there, his jaw hits the floor, and my grandmother says, "God takes care of us, you see."
Yeah.
And ever since then, it doesn't matter what circumstance happens in my life, I'm still going to tithe.
Yeah.
And people might call me a fool for doing that. I'm trusting in God to provide my daily bread.
Yeah.
And I encourage everyone to do the same.
And I come from a different background with, I've only been tithing for 15 years. And that's when my marriage started. So if you're keeping track of that, it was one of the biggest fights we had in our marriage, and it happened in the first year. Usually you have this fight while you're going through marriage counseling, and it's one of the topics you should hit with marriage counseling. I'm not
Did
saying
my dad give you premarital counseling?
he did.
And apparently he did not hit on that. Bad dad.
He didn't hit on it enough because Darren was solid. He was good to go. And since
Darren gave the right answer and you got quiet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And so when it came down to that in that first year, it was a shouting match. It was pretty bad. And that's because not enough income was coming in for the lifestyle that I was comfortable with. And we were about to have a kid, and we were off at law school, so it just didn't make sense. And so I got angry. And yes, throwing things, should not have thrown things.
Don't throw things at your spouse.
Don't throw things at your spouse. It's not loving.
But apparently Darren has no scars, so he was good at ducking.
Oh, yeah.
He could bob and weave, you know?
He was just like, "When you're done with this, come get a snack. We'll talk about it. Your blood sugar's low." But
You won't have anything to eat the snack on because I'm throwing the plates.
Exactly. But this was a really good fight to have because it changed my life. It changed how I viewed finances, how God took care of me. And it was the start of a deeper relationship with God that I hadn't had before. And before I started tithing, it was surface level. It's what I felt like in the mode, when you're in the service, feeling things. But this was affecting the rest of my life. And the reason this was so astronomical to me was I had to suddenly have to take care of my finances in ways that made sense.
Can I ask you a question that just popped into my head?
Sure.
When you were sitting in those services and you felt in the moment a motivation to give, was that motivation a reluctant compulsion, or did you think, I'm such a good person because I'm giving and this is making a difference, and I should inflate my ego a little bit?
I don't think I would have given as much as I did in those early days if the plate wasn't passing in front of me. I felt embarrassed not putting something in.
Oh, so it was social pressure.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I know there's some people who they almost get white savior mentality if they're white. You know what I mean? Like that phrase, a missionary goes to Africa and says, "I'm going to save them," and it's like, it's not on you, dude.
Yeah.
There are people that when the plate comes by, they're like, "I gave $20.
Yeah.
And they think that's a big deal. And what they don't know is that the person who's sitting behind them who makes half as much as they do, if you go look at the books, they give $10,000 a year.
Yeah.
And they do it quietly. They do it the way Jesus said. When you give, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing.
Yes.
Like he says to do your giving in secret, not to announce it with trumpets and make a big deal out of yourself. I think there are some people, because this is ultimately an attitude issue. We talked about that with Jesus, right?
Yeah.
I think there's some people when they give, it becomes a pride thing, and they forget God doesn't need your money. Like,
No.
it can come from somewhere else.
Yeah.
I was just reading online about this guy. his aunt died, and he was cleaning out her house, and he finds a box in the closet. He opens it up. It has a Detective Comics number 27 in it. For those of you at home who don't know what that is the first appearance of Batman. It is worth an insane amount of money. She also had Batman number 1, the first one from the 1930s.
Wow.
She also had a copy of the first Superman comic. And they're just, these are like museum pieces, just sitting in a box in the closet. He went and took them to auction, $3.4 million for that little box from his aunt's closet.
Yeah.
If God wants us to strike oil, and then that's how he's going to finance something, that's what's going to happen. He doesn't need you.
No.
You need him, and you need to recognize it.
Yeah.
And so you're like, look at me. That's nothing.
No, it's not. And it's
That's nothing.
And it's not a place for economic making it rich. That's not how this works.
Oh, you mean like the prosperity gospel? If I give, I'm going to make a bunch of money?
Yes.
Any pastor who takes Malachi and says, you give us seed money and God is going to give you a bunch, they are full of garbage, and they are it's a great tactic to get you to send them money so they can buy another private yacht.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yes.
They are shysters. They need to be ignored.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that in a second. But, so to circle back and answer the question, is there a time when we shouldn't? I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I do have pastor friends, though, who have like the little old ladies, the little old widows in their churches who are having such a hard time making ends meet. And I think I've even had a couple of widows in our church reach out to me and say, Pastor, I'm giving what I can. I know it's not 10%. My response isn't to tell them, well, you better get on top of it. My response to them is, give according to what God places on your heart to give.
Yeah.
I think 10% is a good tradition. It's a good benchmark. Do we have to do 10%? Not necessarily. It is a good benchmark.
Yeah.
But again, with Jesus, he said, be generous, and it's a hard thing. And I see these little old ladies, and given their life circumstances, they're being very generous.
Yeah.
But you or me, you being the wife of a lawyer, me being a single guy who just has to provide kibble for his dog and then take care of himself, we can give more than they can, so we should.
Yeah. Now that we can. I mean, when we were, over the last 15 years, we didn't make it until like, I don't know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
As a seminary student, I could hardly pay rent.
Yes.
I get it. Yeah.
So there was a long time. So we didn't see fruits coming back to us. We could have food on the table. We can make rent. We grew what we could, and we saved what we could. I was a good Dave Ramsey person. And it didn't start accumulating till much later. And I'm not saying it should ever accumulate. It's not what bases your accumulation.
And this might be a topic for season 2 of the podcast, but the frequency with which someone says, I can't afford blank, and then it just turns out it's not that they can't afford it, it's that they're bad at finances.
Yeah.
They don't keep track of their expenses and those kinds of things. Speaking as if I was to get married tomorrow, the way I do my finances would have to change because I'm now responsible for somebody else.
Yeah.
I have a little more flexibility as a single guy, but I sit down with somebody and we look at their finances and it's like, why are you, you think going to Starbucks twice a day, every day is no big deal. And you're saying you can't afford this, you can't afford that, you can't afford the other. Okay, you're spending $10 a day at Starbucks. Do you really feel good at spending over $3,500 a year on coffee? And they're like, it is $3,500 a year. And it's like, that's a lot of money, right? Wouldn't it be nice to have that extra money each month?
To do something that you feel like you need.
To have like $300 extra a month, wouldn't that be nice?
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy, but you can't look at these things until you become a steward of your finances. And that's why that was such a pivotal point for me in my marriage, is that suddenly I had to be in charge of it.
Yeah.
And
so you had to be intentional.
You had to be intentional. And that was good because an intentional heart is a good giving heart. You feel better about it.
Well, yeah. And you also, when you look at the paper, you realize the sacrifices you're making.
Yeah.
Like the people who like to travel realize they might have to give up one of their trips this year. The people who like to go into the outdoors might have to buy a little less rock climbing equipment this year.
Yeah.
The people who love to go to the movies might have to make it once a month instead of 4 times a month. Like you see the sacrifices you're making. The thing I keep on saying over and over and over and over and over again to my people is love.
Love requires sacrifice.
Thank you. Love.
Sorry, he's pointing at me and I'm like,
love requires, you say a lot of things. Love requires sacrifice. That's my whole thing. And when you're sitting down and you're looking at your Excel spreadsheet or whatever, and you see the sacrifices you're making, love becomes tangible.
Yes.
And you can see the sacrifices you're making to show God love and to show your neighbors love.
Yes. Now, do you have to start with 10%? Ryan says yes.
I say it's a great tradition and a great starting place for, I like to quote one pastor who somebody came to him to ask about tithe and they said, well, you know, Jesus never says to give 10%. And his response was, you're right, that was the Old Testament standard. Jesus made people give everything. Do you feel better about 10% or 100%? And they go, 10% doesn't sound so bad. That's what I thought. Like for me, it's, I think the reason why God placed that number, 10 is a number of perfection for Jews. It is a significant portion, but I think most of us, maybe all of us, can live on 90% of what we're bringing in unless we're in abject poverty. But again, impoverished people are the most generous. Like they do incredible things. Again, conversation for another time. That might contribute to why they're impoverished, is that they're too generous. But I think if you're in a place where you can't tithe 10%, make it your goal. Work towards it. Start small and then see how God shows up in your life. But don't use that as permission to avoid generosity, to avoid giving.
Because you're shorting yourself when you do that. When you're like, I can get away with the 1% or the $20 bill this time. You're shortening yourself to see how far God can take you and that relationship you have with Him. When you are in control of your finances, when you're giving with an open heart and you're like, hey, I can make it on 90%. I never knew I could, but now I can. That's fantastic.
Well, and being the pastor who has to look at the P&L sheets every month for the church and set the budget for the year and give approval to these kinds of things, I can also tell you when you say, I don't really need to give, and then you come to a bunch of church activities, church events, those kinds of things, it does sting a little bit because it's like you're not contributing, but you're taking. And that does sting. And when we look at the kinds of services we'd like to provide our community, the kinds of ministry, sometimes people come in and they say, why doesn't your church have blank? Why don't you have an AA program? Why don't you have yada yada? Us and what money? Someone, the reason why we're doing a remodel project right now, it's been a long time coming. We used to have guests come in and they would be like, I don't like, the church smells kind of musty and I don't really like that. You guys should do something about it. We're like, we're a small church. The money's got to come from somewhere. We're trusting God, but if you would help, that would be great. Like we can get there. But you short yourself, you short your relationship with God because you're showing you don't trust. And it has an impact on your local community.
That's a positive thing about, if we're going to look at like, okay, here's the good things that happen. This is why you should go local. That's the next subject I wanted to do was, okay, what if you're at home and you're watching something in a community far away and you're giving money to that community.
If you're in Denver and you're giving money to a church in Portland, Maine. What benefit does that have? Are you actually part of the church at that point? Oh man, that's going to be another topic for another week because at that point I want to ask the question, if you're just watching online and you're not participating, are you part of the community of faith at all? Or are you just a consumer? And my tithe actually becomes my Netflix fee.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like I'm just paying you so you keep providing the goods and services I want. Man, your involvement in your church should be more than that. But that's another topic for another Sunday or another podcast. But I do think the question to be, like, there is a good question there in that we do have people who, I've had people who come to a local church and they participate there and they go, oh, but my home church is back in Montana. So that's where I give. Or even worse, people who give to mega churches somewhere else, or even worse, people who give to televangelists, and they say that that's where their tithe is going to. Why is it better to contribute to a local, and again, contributing to your home church or contributing to a church that you're a part of and you believe in, okay. Contributing to a mega church that probably doesn't need your money, contributing to why is it better to contribute to the church that you're a part of locally?
Okay, well, one of the things that I point out too is it affects the commerce that you have here. It's a big buzzword, I'm sorry, but it's the community that you have around you stays local. So those are people that you employ to do remodel projects. Sometimes that's the money that goes to your block party and feeds the people in the neighborhood. It's an outreach program.
You're supporting your local neighborhood. Like,
Yeah.
we do have plumbers in our neighborhood who need jobs.
Yeah.
We have pipes here that need fixed.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we hire local? Like, that's a way of supporting the local economy.
Yeah.
We're also supporting the local people who are in need when we offer free food, when we
Yeah.
give food to Mooberry Elementary down the street, because, and I'm not saying that to give ourselves kudos,
Yeah.
I'm saying that when you give to our local church, a portion of that money goes to support a local school where kids are hungry. Like, that's a good thing to give towards.
It also allows us to expand a little bit on our missions close by. Like you say, we need an Alcohol Anonymous program. We don't have the ability to do that with the means that we have now. It could be something in the future, but that shouldn't be the stick that makes you give. I mean, the carrot that makes you give. It should be something that naturally flows out of it, because we have a need here. The Mooberry one is a good one because that's one that is a dire need here, and we want to give to it because we want those kids to flourish.
Local school that is a Title I school, which means all the kids are on free or reduced lunch. We provide food for those kids on the weekends when they go home and they're not at school, just to make sure their families are taken care of. So supporting our local community is one of the good reasons for giving local.
It's accountability. When we have it local, we get to see where the finances are going.
Right.
So when you're giving your tithe to one of the mega churches or a televangelist, you don't get to see where it benefits at all. They could tell you, oh, we gave so much to this, but there was an 80% surcharge on top of that.
Yeah, they don't mention the new private jet.
Yes.
And this is like we were talking about with cults. One of the things to be wary about with a cult is the books on their finances are closed.
Yeah.
If it's a healthy faith community, the books are going to be open. You're going to be able to see where the money's going.
Yeah.
At our local church, you can show up at our office today. We will open the books and we'll show you where the money's going.
Yeah.
No problem. Public records. And you get that with local churches, whereas, man, we just had that documentary come out about Hillsong last year where it turns out they started doing some audits of the books and the leaders were gifting each other Rolex watches and going on extravagant vacations and stuff with church funds.
Yeah.
And it's like, I doubt the people who were donating knew that it was going to that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be going towards the mission field. It should be helping the community and where your eyes are set, where God's feet are supposed to be moving. And that's the last positive that I'm bringing up, is the fact that it's connection to your church family. You do need to have personal communication, personal connection with people in your local church. When you tithe, you're giving to the same mission field that they are in. I know a lot of people who gave to our remodel. We got it done really quick. We didn't expect it.
No, we were hoping to do it in a year. We did it. We got the money together in 8 months.
Which is huge because
incredible.
It's incredible. God was wonderful.
And our people were wonderful. And we are going to use those funds to do what we promised, and we are going to do our best with them. And
people can walk in and say, okay, I want to make sure that you use these correctly.
How much did you spend on the carpet? I will show you.
I'm sorry, there was a slice of pizza. No, but we had 15 people here painting walls.
Yeah.
That's
called investment.
That's called investment. And
feed your painters.
Yeah, exactly. So those are things that do connect you to your local church and connect you to your community and what God is doing. And it promotes that connection that you have with God.
Right. So what are some of the downsides if I don't give local, if I give to a church over there that I'm not really that connected to?
One, you don't know where it's going.
Good, yep.
Secondly, that person's not being held accountable.
Yep.
You don't get a say in what's going on.
They could be abusing or misusing the funds.
Yeah.
There's a lack of transparency. One of the weird things that can happen in a body that you're not locally tied to Sometimes they make decisions and you don't know why they're making those decisions, and they seem really inconsistent with the direction the group is going in.
Yeah.
Turns out it's because a donor gave financially significantly to them and is now influencing the direction that they're going.
Yeah.
When you have big groups, they get big attention, they get big celebrities, they give a lot of money, now they have influence.
Some of
Doesn't
those-
typically happen in local church.
And some of those are kickbacks that are not God-centered.
I say that it doesn't typically happen in the local church.
Yeah.
I need to rephrase that.
Yeah.
It shouldn't happen in the local church. Sometimes it does, but I feel like there is more accountability in local churches.
Yeah.
For that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Somebody tried to steamroll us here, and
Yeah.
we just said no. It's not going to happen. Well,
Yeah.
then I'll do this. That's your call.
Yeah.
Like that. Whereas I didn't have to meet with the committee and all that. Like I just told them no.
Yeah.
So somebody comes, offers me a check for $500,000, but I'm going to tell you exactly where it goes. I'm going to tell you this, that, and the other. No, thank you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't want those kind of strings attached. That's not what God's church is for. And that's going
Gets back to the heart issue.
Yeah, it gets back to the heart issue and what Abraham was avoiding.
Yep.
And the last thing is where the money is, that's where the mind goes. So if the money is coming from business and entertainment, then your church is going to be business and entertainment minded.
Yeah.
So if you're watching through YouTube or are a part of something that's farther away and it seems flashy and it seems like fun, that's because they put the money towards that.
All the negatives that we're kind of seeing with this is basically, it boils down to you're signing a check and handing it to a stranger and hoping they do the right thing with it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're involved in the local church, you have relationship with the leadership. You know what they're doing, you know why they're doing it. You know the people in the local church and how they're facilitating ministry. You have a greater sense of, I don't want to say comfort, but confidence that your money is going to where it's supposed to be going, rather than just going into a big pool and then a bunch of people are playing in that pool. That's kind of what I think is the difference between the positive and the negative.
Yeah. And it's not that every single penny comes back to the community that you're in. The Nazarene Church, I would say 80% stays here, maybe a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do have dues that are to the state with how the Nazarene Church works as a state function, and then as United States, and our missions around the world.
So to be clear about that, what Jen is alluding to is in the Church of the Nazarene, when you donate to our local church, the majority of what you give goes to the local church.
Yeah.
But a portion goes to other areas of ministry that we support.
Yeah.
We basically have the attitude of, we expect our people to tithe, so our local church should tithe. We tithe on what comes in through the tithe.
Yeah.
A portion of that goes to support our administration of like our district leaders, global leaders. A portion goes to support our Nazarene educational institutions to ensure that we are continuing to educate young people, not only in liberal arts, but also in our faith.
Yeah.
And a portion goes to help overseas with missions and compassionate outreach. One of the things that's cool about the Nazarene Church is that, I think I've mentioned this before, might even mention this on this podcast.
Yeah.
We do multiple takes and it's hard to remember what gets on and what doesn't.
Yeah.
But we are in the top 1% in response time for natural disasters. So when something happens in Kenya or the war in Ukraine or the stuff going on in Palestine, sometimes even before the Red Cross gets there, we're there already handing out food, providing medicine, those kinds of things. We are able to do that because we take a portion of every dollar that's tithed and put it towards that.
Yeah.
So.
And I've seen a couple of churches who are able to, in the Nazarene Church, they have a van, they load people up that are good at cooking, they're good at cleanup, they're good at building. And it may be 2 weeks after a disaster like Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah, they get there and they help.
Yeah, they help. It might be a few weeks later, but there are churches who are able to do that. And there's us that can build those kits, or we can do a donation and it helps them get there.
We have warehouses full of crisis response kits that are just waiting for a crisis to happen.
Yeah.
And then we just send them.
Yeah.
And then in the time in between, the peace times, we make more crisis response kits and we fill up those warehouses again. Yeah. That's kind of how we do it.
So that's just kind of like an open door. You can see what we're doing here. This is where our funds go. And if you're local, we believe you should give local, because it supports the ministry here in your backyard, in your neighborhood.
It's kind of like when they say support local business, support local farmers, support local butchers.
Yeah.
It's for all the same reasons.
It is.
It really is. Why should you support a local mom and pop business? I don't know. Do you really need to support a evil mega corporation?
Do they really need more of your...
I don't want to, and I'm not saying mega churches are evil mega corporations or stuff. Some of them are.
Yeah.
Like some of them do really evil stuff that they put in the guise of faith. I think they're good mega churches too. My point is, if they got 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 people attending locally, do they really need you giving online too when you could give to a local church that's doing something in your neighborhood?
Yes.
That could be significant.
And if you're going to have that many people, that kind of influence and that kind of influx of finances, at what point are you raising up disciples to take on those churches instead of just keeping them for yourself?
Another topic for another day, Jen.
I know. This one's full of them.
Yep.
So this can go on forever, honestly.
But let's go ahead and put a bow on it. Let's
Sure.
go ahead and say, what do you want to be the big takeaway for people who watch this today? Because tithe is sort of one of your passion pulpits.
It is my passion pulpit because it has done such good things for my marriage. It's done such good things for my relationship with God. And it helps me to understand my part in it. It's an active participation, whereas you're not just sitting in the pews and being entertained. This is something that feet are moving. So one of the things that I think you should take away from it is, one, you should tithe. And if you are, be active in a local church.
Yep.
It's biblical. It was good enough for Abraham. It was good enough for Jesus.
It's good enough for Jesus. It's good enough for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it really helps you step into your own as a person of faith.
Right.
So I think that everybody should do it.
Yeah, my takeaway is that everything is a gift from God. God asks us to return a portion, not because he needs it, but because it shows that we trust him to continue providing everything we need.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to keep on trusting him, and I encourage you to do the same. I am not, and just as one more disclaimer, I'm not saying this because if you give more, I have ulterior motives and it benefits me personally. If you give more, then our church gets to give more to our local community. We get to do more ministry. We get to open our doors to new things, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And I also want to take this opportunity because I know people from our local church are probably going to watch this. Thank you for your continued stewardship and your continued faithfulness in giving. It's because of you that we're able to do this.
Yeah.
If you didn't give, we wouldn't have this room to be sitting in. We wouldn't have this equipment that we're using, as ramshackle as it might be.
Yes.
That to put this on.
Yeah.
I would not have the clothes on my back or the food in my stomach. So thank you so very, very much for your continued faithfulness. And thank you for trusting us to do good with it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I think that wraps it up. And that is a wrap on season 1 of the Other Talking Red podcast. So Jen and I are trying to divide these up as we're filming into like 8 episode seasons that we're going to release intermittently, and then that'll give us some time to schedule and start recording the next season.
Yep.
If you guys do have any questions you'd like us to consider in the next season on this podcast, please put them in the comments below this video or send them to the email address that I am putting on the screen right now. And if it's something that we can tackle and say something helpful about, then we will tackle it and say something helpful about it. But for me and Jen here at the Other Talking Red podcast, thanks for listening in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.